New developments in the federal investigation into the shooting death of Terre Haute police officer Greg Ferenczi. The FBI has officially charged 44-year-old Shane Meehan with murder of a federal agent. Court documents say Meehan drove his pickup truck to the gate of the FBI building in Terre Haute. He then got out of his truck and threw a Molotov cocktail at the building. Authorities say Meehan then shot Detective Ferenczi. Meehan was shot 2 times himself, though it's unclear if Ferenczi or another task force officer fired those shots. Special Agent Paul Keehan says Ferenczi was ambushed at a federal building.
An agent inside our office heard the gunshots, came outside, and engaged the suspect and fired at him. The suspect subsequently left the scene and drove himself to the hospital, where he ultimately underwent surgery for his wounds, and he is currently in custody at the hospital.
Authorities also found a .45 semi-automatic gun, 2 empty boxes of ammunition, and 3 additional Molotov cocktails in his truck. Meehan was previously employed as a correctional officer at the Federal Correctional Complex in Terre Haute. He was employed from March 2005 until October of 2017. If convicted of murder, Meehan will face up to life in prison. Ferenczi was a 30-year veteran of the police department and had been a federal task force officer since 2010. Blake Shelton spoke to law enforcement officers about Ferenczi's legacy and his tenure with the police department.
Detective Greg Ferenczi's legacy meant a lot to those he worked with.
He did so many more things that I can't sit here and explain to all of you. Those of us that work with him know. He was an amazing person, and I just can't say that enough.
His legacy? Leaving a mark on Terre Haute police and the FBI as a federally deputized task force officer.
Greg was not only a long-standing member of the police department here in Terre Haute, but a valued member of our FBI family.
Ferenczi wasn't just a member. He was on the Terre Haute police force for 3 decades. He was a task force member with the FBI since 2010. He was a teacher, training officers how to handle the toughest of situations. And Ferenczi did many risk assessments of violent crime scenes. But above all that, he was a family member.
Greg is a father of 2 adult children. He's a brother. He is a son, and he's been a member of our police family.
Even more so, a friend.
He was actually my neighbor right before I came on the police department. You'll not meet a finer person.
Making the difficult tasks effortless.
There's not anything that he did that he didn't put 110% into. He was an amazing person.
But in the midst of everything, Mayor Duke Bennett says he's thankful for the support of his police, rallying behind the legacy of Detective Greg Ferenczi.
In spite of tragedy, our guys and gals of the Terre Haute Police Department continue to serve above and beyond, and you just never know what the next day is going to bring.
And another emotional day, obviously, for local law enforcement as they mourn the loss of a fellow officer. Susan Dinkel spoke with some who are reflecting on Detective Greg Ferenczi's life and the impact he made on the community.
He knew how to communicate with people through his smile and through his eyes.
Greg Ferenczi, a 30-year veteran of the Terre Haute Police Department. Cool.
I think as a person, the thing that I never in 30 years saw Greg angry. Never.
Caring.
His laugh, if you'd ever heard it, you won't forget that, and I won't ever forget it.
A comrade.
He cared about what he did, and he cared about the people that he protected, and he cared about the people that he incarcerated.
A model police officer, tough and experienced, with a spirit contagious to his colleagues.
You were going to miss him, and we'll never forget him. We won't ever forget anyone that gave everything they had to protect this community, and it's going to be tough to move on from this.
A servant to his community, a hero in blue, and an inspiration for those he's left behind.
Just make no mistake, no matter what happens to one of us, we're still going to be here. I mean, Greg wouldn't want us to quit. Rob wouldn't want us to quit. Brent wouldn't want us to quit. In fact, they'd be pissed off if we did.
Detective Greg Ferenczi, a fearless watchdog.
He just did his job. the best he could to protect this community.
Number 129 gave all he had until the very end.
The killing of Detective Greg Ferenczi marks the third killing of an officer from the Terre Haute Police Department since Mayor Duke Bennett has been in office.